Next, our ancient yew tree appears back in time once again, this week with a humorous take on the restoration of Charles II. Liz Coyle Camp on regal returns and local legends.
Did you know I am one of the oldest yew trees in all of Wiltshire, and perhaps all of England? I've been rooted to this spot in the churchyard of St. John's, Tisbury, for around, can you guess, 4,000 years. It was, I admit it now, a great relief to almost everyone when King Charles II was restored to the throne. Not because anyone felt any great need to have another rich, power-wielding megalomaniac lording it over us, so convinced of their God-given powers. Does that sound familiar? But the division it had caused up to that point in these here parts was frankly so exhausting it made me want to lie down. Obviously, I can't lie down. I can only stand upright. I'm a tree. In fact, the day you see me lying down, get out the axe. Oh gosh, I can't believe I just said that. Put the axe away. Do not come anywhere near me with the axe, please. Where was I? Ah, yes. For instance, the villagers of Swallowcliff were still not talking to the villagers of Anstey, and to this very day, some of them are still not on the best of terms. Yeah, that's true. And the whole Roundhead versus Royalist thing caused us nothing but grief. On top of it, all life had become, well, drained of colour, all that piety. Life just felt so dreary. But with King Charles II back, it was like the sun suddenly shone a little brighter. Colourful clothes were once again a thing, and after many years of austerity in the fashion department too, festivals, plays, song, dancing, all were once again allowed and even encouraged, all of which would have been music to my ears if I had any, but I don't, I'm a tree. But it has to be said, some local characters fared better than others. John Bradshaw, for instance. Get this. He was gifted the Fonthill estate for service to the parliamentarian cause after he tried and sentenced Charles I in his role as President of the High Court of Justice. King Charles II, on the other hand, showing himself to be remarkably vengeful, had Bradshaw, who had already died from natural causes in 1659, well, he had him dug up and then hung in Tyburn alongside Cromwell's corpse. Yuck. It gets worse. Their heads were then chopped off and put on spikes as a warning to anyone thinking that regicide was a good idea. And as we still have a royal family, it obviously worked. That gave the locals lots to talk about over a pint, as you can imagine, in the fairly new alehouse on Church Street, appropriately named The Crown. But whereas Bradshaw was on the losing side, another local, Edward Hyde, did marvellously well by being on the winning side. His father, Lawrence, was born and died at Hatch House. The son, Edward, would go on to be a key advisor to Charles II and then Lord Chancellor of England, and even for a time one of the most powerful men in the country. But it wasn't all plain sailing, and it didn't end particularly well for him, but that's another story. Anyhow, eventually his daughter Anne Hyde would go on to marry King James II and become the mother of both Queen Anne and Queen Mary. Of course, as a tree, and unlike Anstey and Swallowcliff, I had no business in taking a side. That is just not the way of a tree. I've always taken an overview, literally. Get it? I looked down on all these events and characters and tried my hardest not to judge. I could see Tisbury was quietly prospering, you see, whether from the wool trade or the quarrying of Chilmark stone. And, most importantly, we were immune to fires in London, and sometimes we even survived some of the worst plagues unscathed. And so the Nadder flowed by, the birds sang and nested, and I, let me tell you, looked gorgeous. Next week, I'll tell you more. The Yew Tree Chronicles.